Welcome to the AI Lab Unfiltered podcast, where we take a deep dive into everything AI related and everything you can make using AI. I am Drew Veach from BizStream. I am joined by Mr. Pete Tarrin from New Wave. In today's episode, we talk about MCP connections. We talk about the impact of AI on coding and how it affects developers with their dopamine hit. And that's something that we all want, and the value of problem solving. Stay tuned. And we are joined by Mr. Mark Schmidt, the founder of BizStream. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks
Welcome
for
back.
having me.
Yeah, welcome back. So I wanted to talk about how I want to ask you a bunch of questions, like your thoughts around AI. You use AI a lot, and you use it in a business sense, you use it in a personal sense, but I want to... there's a topic that we talked about, and I know you and I didn't discuss this beforehand that I was going to talk about this part, but it's an interesting conundrum that I have heard, and we've had a whole episode about it. It's about using AI and brain decline. I wanted to get your take on this. I've talked to other people about this, but you use AI a lot, and it's helping to replace a lot of what we do. But there's a new study that came out. You and I were just talking about this by MIT that was saying that the decline of the human brain using AI, because it's starting to replace a lot of our thoughts and a lot of our cognitive ability. Now, I'm not trying to get a scientific answer from you or anything, but I just kind of want to get your take on it.
I've seen that article too. I've read it, watched a few people's takes on it. My take is, I don't know, just like with anything, whether it's social media, whatever, it can be positive and it can be negative. I think people are doing it right. I feel like I am doing more and smarter and like not spending my time doing grunt-like things, tasks that I just don't need to do anymore. And so I'm thinking at a higher level. I'm pulling myself back and saying, what am I doing that is a waste of time? What can I automate? There's no reason for me to be doing X, Y, and Z or writing the same bit of code that I've written 1,000 times or so I don't know. I think it depends on how you use it. I'm a big believer in that it's actually enhancing. It's enhancing our brains.
Right.
It's an extension. But yeah, I guess I've definitely read other studies of like, younger kids. I mean, I'm glad they're using AI, but it's like they don't make a life decision unless they talk to ChatGPT, like how to talk, ask somebody out or buying a house. Or again, some of that's good, right? Like buying a house is a thing. You should get some, knowledge and information.
There's some background info of how it works.
And not everybody does. So there's some good things, but and I don't know. I'm not totally there on that article.
You brought up something that kind of triggered something in my mind, because a lot of times I look at it from the creative aspect, because I don't do coding. Yeah. That might shock and amaze you, but I don't do coding.
I'm a sales guy.
I guess I do with Lovable. We're going to bring that up again.
You have to.
But for like writing, creative writing is where I've used it to kind of replace a lot of what I do for writing. Now, I'm not saying I use it all for writing. I put obviously the meat in there, the points, the key things I want to talk about, and it strings it together because it does a really good job of kind of writing out everything that you put into there. But I'm using it from a creative standpoint. You're using it from much more of a technical standpoint of, why am I recreating the wheel every time with coding? Yep. I can just use this and have it generate it.
And I do it for writing and communication too. One term I came across recently is, everything was prompt engineering, but now we're talking context engineering.
Yes.
So like the prompt doesn't matter as much. You got to feed it the right stuff. And like you said, you got to tell it, what is your writing style? Ideally, you load that into your personal memory and style, so you don't have to do that every time. But yeah, what are the key points you need to make? I don't want to write an executive summary for every 2-week budget report with the client from scratch. I want to say, these are the key points. Keep it short. Keep it transparent and clear.
Which it makes sense with the context, because it's so human-like at this point where it's like if you're talking to somebody saying, well, I'm looking to buy an affordable car.
Yeah,
well, what the hell does that mean?
They know.
Like, do you need something with 4-wheel drive? Do you need a truck? Do you need it? So you got to give all of that context to it. One of the stats that it pointed out in that study was 83% of ChatGPT users couldn't quote a single sentence from essays they'd just written minutes earlier.
Yep.
Now compare that to brain-only groups where only 11% had trouble quoting their work.
And again, that's the difference. There's people using it just to punch through and get through the test or whatever.
That's what it sounds.
But then there's the people who are loading, like they've done the research. I am not a great writer. I like learning and studying facts, so I'll load it up with all the things, the points I want to make, when I'm talking to the company communication, but maybe reduce the F-bombs or whatever and like actually make it like I'm an owner of a company.
Or add more as your personality.
Add more. They know who I am.
Know your audience.
They know who I am.
Yeah.
But anyways, loading that up. And so, that's not happening to me. I know the information I'm putting in there. But yeah, you're going to be able to pull out studies like that. I think it's a little bit cherry picking. And
it is. And again, talking about context.
And headline. And it's just like social media rots your brain. But it can also do some positive things too.
Right.
Absolutely. The other episode that we did with you, we talked a lot about what you're doing in your personal life with AI. In the sense that I got is, and also with, the coaching that you're doing and you're in CrossFit, you're not looking for the easy way out. No. You're looking to be able to do more. Like you can now cram more things into your life because you can do some things faster with AI.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this article, that people are looking for the easy way out. That's why they don't remember anything from the article, because they had a task that they had to do, which was turn in a paper, and they just did it because it needed to be done. Right. They didn't find any value in knowing the content, so they just went for the easy way out, and that's not you.
And it is a worry. Like we are trying to get our full team really on board with AI, and one of the biggest things going on right now is I don't think everybody understands how fast it's all moving and how things are going to change, and we have to change with them. Like you can say, I've heard but I love coding. I love literally writing the code, and that's cool. But it's like, I don't know, if you're getting paid to be a taxi driver, but back in the day you were a horse and carriage driver.
Yeah.
Horse and carriage drivers, you might love taking care of the horse and the whole experience, but that's what you can do as a hobby.
Right.
Yeah.
You're now getting paid to get from point A to point B. What's the most efficient way to do it? And that's kind of where we're at.
AI is table stakes now.
Great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And again, it still requires the things that I think these guys actually truly love. It's not literally just writing the code, because nobody I just had one where I had to take a log file and it had a bunch of JSON and JSON within JSON. I'm talking tech, but it's okay. Anyways, I needed to parse it out, and I had some tools, and I've written this code 1,000 times in my life, and the internet's written it 1,000,000 times over to do similar things. Not the exact thing, but similar enough. So I was like, what? I'm going to use Cursor, the vibe coding thing, which so weird. Vibe coding, that term didn't exist 5 months ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're lovable and vibe coding everything, right? So anyways, I was like, all right, I started creating the file, but I left it empty. I'm like, okay, go look at this log file. I need this all busted apart into its own columns, create a CSV, and use my existing file utils tool that I already have to pull the data and do some things. And I was getting called to a meeting because I was late, internal meeting. Like, Mark, get over here. I'm like, go. I walk away. Go have my meeting. I come back. I'm like, it says run. I'm like, all right, run. 100% perfect. Like, perfect. Jeez. Like, damn, holy shit.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. I wrote 200 lines of code. It had error checking, which I wouldn't have done for this particular task because it's just a one-time deal. I needed to just bust apart a log file and get it over to another system. But it was like perfect. I was like, take the date time field, which if you're a developer dealing with date time fields and UTC and different formats, like I need a raw date and a time and the other stuff. And then did some other nice things, like it kept the raw original as another field off to the right, which I'm like, that is nice. So I can kind of double check, like, yep, it broke that apart right. There was another field that it realized like it was a single item array. So it was an array, but there was only ever one item in it. And what I wanted was just the single value because that's all it is. Don't try to like do multiple or bring it in as an array. It did exactly what I wanted.
Okay.
I gave it like one run-on sentence, and it did it, and I ran away, did my meeting, and it did all that. Like, and nobody wants to write all that code. There's no reason to write that code. So I literally wrote zero code and hit run in the little sidebar, and it did it. I mean, and that's not the only experience I've had with that. Like dealing with some GIS data. I've never busted apart a GIS, map data and all this stuff. I just needed the line. I needed to draw a polyline, on a map. So I just needed the string of latitudes and longitudes. If you ever open up a GIS data, I pulled from like MDOT, just gobs of files. I don't know the format. So I was just like, how do bust apart this and give me an array of arrays of the lines.
Sure.
And totally did it. I mean, like I've done all this. You could go look on Stack Overflow, old school ways. I could put in a ChatGPT. I could have got parts and pieces, but it knows the context of the rest of the stuff. It knows the paths of where to go. It even cursor now, like if you don't give it the context, like I think you're referencing something. So I'm gonna go search your code base. Oh, I found it. And you can see all the thought. It's just amazing. And it's changing fast. And we all need to stop writing things we don't need to write anymore.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So how do you see that workflow, I would say in the future, but in 3 months, how do you see that work? Because now that we can use more AI, like you said, I can hit run, I go to my meeting, I come back, that chunk of code or that part of that application is done. And then you've got the people that, well, I like writing the code that need to kind of evolve with the times. Yeah. How do you see that workflow with the, I would say, seasoned mid-level developer now coming into that space?
A few things. So I'll even talk about like the junior too. But so one, my example I gave was a little bit extreme, even though it was 100% true. Normally, I would not just run code that it generated. I would look it over, but I was in between meetings, and this is like something that didn't matter. Again, the nice thing is everything is we have source control. We get to see the check-ins. We get to see the differences. And so normally spend some time, read the code, review it, make sure it seems right, even step through it, debug it. But anyways, we are at the point where you don't always have to do that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the workflow is, well, right now we're in a training and getting everybody on board and just showing them the power and just, again, just enabling them as much as possible, like pay for cursor, pay for, all the different VS Code, agent mode, and just get people going and trying to tell them, like, look at those opportunities. Like when you have a task like a bug fix, like it's a minor thing, do you have to code it? Like try asking, like worst case, it doesn't. And so just really just trying to change people's workflow to go AI first. Like go AI first. Start figuring out what it does well and what it does. It does not do everything yet.
Sure.
But it does a lot that you don't have to write. And, I think some of this is one, we're BizStream and we are very early adopters on things. So people got on VS Code and Copilot, I don't know, a year plus ago, 2 years ago, maybe at this point. And yeah, it did some things, but it also jacked up some things. And we all know back in the day, ChatGPT you'd copy and paste the code and it'd be like error.
Yeah.
And you'd just fight errors for a while. But again, the biggest thing is I don't think people are understanding how fast it is changing. Even me, a super optimistic, like the speed is blowing me away. I just watched the thing on some of the robots and the fine motor skills and all autonomous last night, like a 2-minute clip. And we are, even the robots, which should be a hard problem, we are getting there way quicker than I would have thought.
Yeah. Some of that I thought was AI generated, because I know some of the clips that you're talking about, because we've shared them at work on Slack. And some of that I thought, oh, this has got to be AI generated. No, that's a freaking real robot.
Teleoperated, but no, it's autonomous. It's happening.
Yeah, they're able to create virtual environments and put a virtual robot in that virtual environment where it learns virtually. I know I just said virtual 3 times in the same run-on sentence. Yeah. But
you virtually did.
By doing that, they don't have to do all the physical manipulation and training that they were doing before. And then once you've got it figured out in the virtual world, you just literally just drop that code into the robot and it knows Kung Fu.
Exactly.
So it's,
and again,
I know Kung Fu.
Back to that last that last podcast we had, NVIDIA. They're the ones.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember the name of the Da Vinci or something like that. The virtual environment that 10,000 versions of the robots, just doing all the different randomizations, slight modifications of environment, and the fact that it can transfer to the real world so seamlessly is pretty nuts with very minor.
I think
changes.
They were it helped Tesla a ton with the autonomous driving, because they used to have to put a car on track and put obstacles in front of it, but now you in a virtual world you can have a kid running out from the sidewalk, and that you don't have to worry about. You don't
have to hire a kid to do it.
Yeah.
Well, and then they take that same video and now they can do. Okay, now it's snowing. Now it's rain. Now different lighting from every angle, shadows. So they're taking that same exact and doing it 10,000 versions of it, and just now it's getting super smart,
bonkers.
Really quick.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I want to go back to something you said about training.
Yeah.
So, we will have people listening to this that are maybe business leaders, and they also want to implement AI into their organization. Do you guys have a stated strategy for that implementation? And you talked about training a little bit. So obviously there's some thought into how do we get the team involved in this? Can you talk about that a little bit more?
So kind of where we're at is, beginning of the year, we put AI on our annual goals. We hit other things, Q1, Q2. Q3, we have our offsite next week. It's definitely trying to figure out that AI strategy. Again, we've done the lighter things, talk about it lightly or often. Obviously, Drew's doing things. I'm doing. A lot of us are doing things, and a lot of us are using AI well.
Mm-hmm.
But getting the full staff, full buy-in. Because when it comes to like the senior and the mid-level, we've been doing stuff our way for a long time. Those are some of the hardest to get, get them to realize the possibilities. Definitely a lot of defaults are like, there's no way AI is better than a human. And that's still true for many, many things, but not everything.
Not everything.
There's no reason to be trying to write code to do basic things or even pretty complex things now.
Yeah.
There's a term, you mentioned the term context engineering is a newer term. Something newer that I learned too that I'm trying to bring into conversation is the difference between horizontal and vertical adoption of AI. I don't know if you and I have talked about this, Drew, but what you're describing, we talk about it. We've enabled people to be able to use it. We've paying for people's accounts for different tools. Is that horizontal adoption? You've given permission. You're letting people know that we are going in the direction of AI. And what it sounds like you're going into with your offsite is getting more vertical,
exactly.
like really defining that strategy and what tools are we going to use and what does training look like?
And like scheduled, I think we were doing, panel, like discussion panels at for our lunch and learns, where we have 4 of us up there for AI and how we're using it. And you know, I haven't even showed, just like on that last podcast we had, I haven't showed the company N8N yet, and like how we need to start thinking about, like, what do you do day to day? Take a pause. What do you do that could be automated? Like, are you going to check Jira for certain things every day as a project manager? Why couldn't we automate that? You know,
Right.
like what do you catch yourself doing on a scheduled basis or whatever?
Yeah.
Also, a cool thing about N8N is, yeah, you can pay for it in the cloud, and that's a quick way to get going and test it all out. But you can totally spin up a local one for free and have as many executions as you want. So, and there's tons of community modules or nodes
Yeah.
that people have built, like probably connecting to Jira and doing all those things. And then again, once we get MCP servers going, which I'm sure you guys, I know you've talked about, all of those little ChatGPT modules also has a little line out that I haven't used yet, but tools and MCP's servers.
When Brian McKeever was on here, we actually asked him to define MCP because it was still pretty new at that time. This new at that time, but that was only what, a month ago that we had Brian on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's blown up,
And now
last
it's
month.
blown up, and it's just ChatGPT. Like you said, they've got these connectors now that we really haven't talked a ton about, and then MCP on top of that, where you can go to things that they don't have connectors for. Just you can connect to everything now.
Right. So yeah, instead of me writing those connections to Airtable, it's just talk to ChatGPT that has an MCP connection to Airtable. And when I say go add a record to my quotes database, Airtable, it knows what to do.
Wow.
I don't have to make the little API call, which is not that bad as a developer, but going to get super easy for non-developers.
So you talked about AI can do a lot of things, but there are some of the shortcomings. Talk about some of those shortcomings. Clearly, that's right now, and by the time this airs, it might have changed. But
so some of the shortcomings are going to be just we do not do simple projects. We purposely love complex projects. We're talking integrations with 10 different things, single sign-on, multilingual, multi-site, doing heavy stuff. Right now, at least I don't know a good way to get all the context of all those things and all the business rules into a prompt. And so we as developers, and again, at the end of the day, our titles might be changed to more like just solution providers. Like, we are providing a solution, still the same thing, an application that does a thing. We're just not necessarily always developing 100% of it. We got to break down the task into smaller chunks. Be like, I can individually say, go get this particular type of data from this ERP system. Now cross-check this in the inventory on the website. We need to update the inventory number or whatever. So, we can break up. We need to be able to still break up. A developer, what they really do, we're developing a solution for humans at the end of the day, whether it's someone on a website or it's our end customer that's trying to make their life easier, whatever it is. We happen to use code, and we write code to deliver that solution. But before we write the code, we are good at breaking down a complex set of tasks into small, chunkable tasks that we can write a function, write a line of code. Like, that's what developers' brains do. And that is still super important right now.
Yeah.
So, but now, rather than literally writing the code, I mean, again, Gemini just came out with their CLI, Claude, Coda. Everyone's coming out with it. This is, in our world, developers get the tools first because the developers are the ones writing the tools, right?
Yeah.
Like on the internet, when the internet came out, you got a lot of pages on how to build the internet, and how to code HTML, and that's how we all learned. And so each step of the way, developers get the tools first.
So where do you see, because there are so many tools and it seems like it's a race to the top right now where, oh my gosh, I'm going to use Gemini. Oh, oh my gosh, Claude just came out.
Yeah.
And then how do you manage
the workflow I've seen people doing, which I'm not there yet, but I've seen people, you got Gemini, you got Claude Codex or whatever, you got Cursor. They will feed the same prompt to all of them, then run the code and test it. Which one do I like better? That one.
Oh, wow.
Like I've seen people like somebody said like 87 of them. Like,
oh, wow.
Like just
all the
slightly different things.
models
And then just, I mean, some of it can run in the code and unit test and debug itself and then be like, okay, which one's the better one? And then eventually you have like an orchestration agent that kind of
does that
figures
for
out
you.
what is the best one. And I mean, that is where it's going. And we all got to realize like, you know, as a developer, like we know what good code is and what smart and secure and all those things. But man, I don't know. Every time I talk, I realize like probably a few months down though,
Yeah.
the security agent's going to tell us like you have holes or you're not just protecting your SQL or you got whatever. So honestly, all I can say is embrace it and we got to evolve with the times and changing.
Yeah.
It's changing very fast. And if you're just deving without any of this, I don't know. I think you would be left behind. It's a hobby, but yeah, I think you're just, you know, behind a horse in a carriage.
Yeah. You're going to end up in a museum.
It's super interesting. But also we all got to realize like there was a time, it's just the speed at which this is happening is the crazy part. We started out, we didn't have all the nice IDEs and the autocomplete and IntelliSense and all the things that we do have now and a nice debugger. Like you just, things would blow up on you or whatever. Or a compiler, like a nasty compiler, like, but now we have nice errors and, hey, you probably did this wrong or whatever. So like, but those were so slow evolutions that everyone, they didn't realize it was changing, but it was changing and they adopted those automatically. It's just the speed. The speed is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's affecting all of us. But again, I think it's a good thing. I think people are saying, you know, they're generating 70, 80% more code than they did last year. Again, with AI, they're not generating themselves, but they're creating more things. I know personally, I've created so much from code to music to ideas. You get an idea in your head and you're like, all right.
Right.
You know, I click like on a lot of my Spotify songs, but maybe they're not all office appropriate. So I don't want to like go through like it's
and
easy.
yet we still hear them in the office.
On some days, if it's a work from home day and there's just a few of us, that's my safe fish for work.
Oh,
list.
nice.
But you know, so again, what's my workflow? I'm driving in the car. I click like on Spotify. That is all I want to do. That's all I don't want to say like. And also add it to this list because it's safe, and this list because it's only for Tuesdays, Thursdays, work from home days. Yeah. But Monday, it's acceptable for everybody. So one of my early uses of AI coding was hey, can you hook up to the Spotify API? I didn't even tell it Lyric Genius, but I was like, go find the lyrics on another API. And kind of cross-check them and create different lists. And yeah, at that time, that was probably 2 years ago now. That was when it got me like, yeah, there was some errors, there was some explosions, but it got me 80% there. It got me enough to where like, okay, I'm close. So now I'm going to finish it.
All right.
Again, used AI here and there to help me, but you know, it's a lot. That would be a lot to take on with the already busy schedule. So I probably would never have done it if it didn't do that big jump start.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, dude, this is like, it's reading my Spotify, it's creating a playlist, it's cross-referencing lyrics, it's hooking it all up. Like we're almost there. So now I have those lists auto-generated. Just every day it runs and see if I liked any new songs and pops them on the different lists. And I'm like, okay, do it by decades and then do it by this and do it by that. And do it by like speed of the beat or whatever.
Yeah.
You brought up an interesting point, and Pete and I have talked about this, that we might have a whole podcast episode dedicated to it. If it gets you 80% of the way there, that's great, which we agree. It's the last 20%
yeah.
that is incredibly more difficult
Yep.
than the first 80%. Because even using platforms like N8N and some of those where, oh, wow, I gave it a couple of prompts, couple of strings, and look what it can do. But now I got to take it to that next step, and that's that last little bit. What is your take on that process? Like trying to get that refined down and to get it to that 100% or as close as you can?
I would say, I mean, we are actually probably getting there. Like that N8N stuff I showed you guys the other day, I mean, I've spent like not much time, and that is working. I don't know. And then,
Our take is that percentage is getting smaller.
yeah, exactly.
However, the overall is getting bigger because the tools are getting more powerful.
Yeah.
So that 20% will
Yeah.
still always
And
exist, and that kind of pushes
That's
you.
how it. I mean, that's
to get to
it's kind
something
of like
better.
the whole graphics card versus graphic or game developers. You know, they're always pushing each other. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna eat up all those graphic cards
Exactly.
and push the game, and now it looks like humans walk, real life walking around. And then so it's just it's like a constant push. So just like we said, we're going to be having way more code being generated
Yeah.
than we did last year. And
It's also-
it's just going to go faster and faster.
When people talk about, is AI going to take my job? Like that last 20% is where you should be going to look, because that's where the value is.
Yeah.
And an AI can help you with that last 20%, but it's not automating it yet.
Right.
So that is a place to go to, have a future.
And there's
That's
there's
where
going
you
to be
survive, isn't that last
I mean,
20%?
everyone
Yeah.
does need to be thinking about some jobs we will be having are like managing the AI agents and which one is the best and which one is following our standards and which one is the most secure and which, like all those things,
Right.
and, guardrails and testing and but the key is you have to know AI and be aware of AI and know what can work for different situations and it takes the learning, which again, if you're into this, you love learning and you love, that's why.
And like you said, your title might change down the road of now you're just a solution provider, a solution architect or something. And AI is just that tool in that process that replaced a bunch of pieces. Now you can think more strategy or overall
higher level.
Yeah. Higher level to get to that output. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to get a solution. You're not trying to do the work. You're trying to get to that solution, and it needs work to get to that point.
Yeah, and again, as a developer, who I do love developing, some of the devs at the office were talking. I think I'm gonna miss like the dopamine hit you get from creating something, and like you solve something, and I'm telling them like. No, I am
still there.
I am like when I give a good prompt with good context and it does it. I mean, you saw how excited I get about a friggin' log file. That's exciting to me. That is work I didn't have to do, and it came out perfect, and it did what I wanted, and I can move on to the next thing because obviously that CSV file I was using for the next thing. I didn't have to write, a few tens or hundreds of lines of code.
That dopamine hit might not necessarily be coming from the actual writing of code. Maybe it's more the finding a solution to a problem.
And I think that's the real.
So that just jumped from one thing to another, because now AI is solving that problem, but now you have a new problem and get your hit from that.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, talking to the devs out there, for every dopamine hit, cool. You have those 16 hours of time you burned and you swore at your computer and you flipped your desk because of one stupid line of code that was giving you some shit or something. And now AI is solving that. So life can be better. It's not just negative. Change, I got to look at the positives.
Yep.
It's pretty huge.
So looking in the future, what Are there any areas that you're looking at going, man, I hope this hits, or I hope this gets fixed by AI? Like if you could have, okay, OpenAI is coming to you saying, what do you need us to build? What do you want? What features do you want? What do you want AI to do for you? What would you want it to do?
I don't know if I have a good answer for that.
And if you don't, you don't.
Yeah, I think
curious
I think we're moving. There's so much movement.
A lot out there. Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with where we're headed. I mean, a robot that gets me a beer as needed is obviously what we're all looking for.
It is.
But no, I don't know.
Deliver it on the mini golf course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean, for me, I just like that we're actually having these tools available that I can get closer to building that, virtual version of me that can answer questions at BizStream, but also, maybe I'm running around delivering a beer to somebody that needs a beer or whatever. Like, I like having fun with technology. So like, we work hard, play hard, get stuff done, but yeah, a fun, silly little robot that does things and says stuff. And
well, and for me, it's exciting. And I know you're in the same boat because you're not a developer either. I don't want to say it lowers the bar, but it lowers the entry point to build applications.
Yes. Yep.
Because now it's like, oh my gosh, I can do this too. That dopamine hit is fantastic. I didn't have to physically code this, but I prompt coded this. I vibe coded it. And that is just exciting. It just opens up a whole new world of what can happen.
And I think that's probably where you're maybe referring to that 80%. Like it's getting you 80% there, but to hook up a database and really like get logins working or email or whatever for a non-dev, that is not super trivial. But for a dev, that's what I'm saying. Like we're way further than that 80% because if it gets me that far, I can hook up I can do all that.
I brought my projects to you going, I got it this far in this program. What do let me look at the file here. Oh yeah, you got to connect it to the database. And just having that knowledge of code is there it is.
So that is where we're at today still. But again, that will eventually go away once MCP is like the standard.
Solidified,
Because then it's just like, are you cool if I create a database with this name and this username and password and whatever, and then you're like, if that's what you need to do, go for it, man. Pretty cool. I mean, we can talk a little bit about BizBot, which is
I did want to bring that up.
So BizBot, obviously, the future goal is that bot that's running around the office.
Yep.
But for now, it's stuck in Slack. But some of the same concepts, this was, we developed BizBot as a Slack bot that can talk to anyone. It started out as just instant message, like direct messaging. And you can ask it like PTO or how many...
Yeah, company policies,
what's my goal?
You can ask it.
You can do it, policies. You can see like, how's our team doing on our goal this quarter or whatever.
I've used it because I'm in the office so much as a salesperson that I come in and I go, crap, who was working on this project? I literally go in and say, hey, BizBot, who's working on XYZ project? Oh, that's this team and this is the project manager. And perfect.
Here's a link to the project.
Yeah, here's where we're at with it. And it's like, it's so helpful for me to be still connected in that way without going, crap, asking 5 different project managers, are you working on this? No, that's this person and they're out today. And it's like, now I got to wait.
So I think this project started over a year ago. So this is pre-MCP servers. So we kind of built our own little concept of it where we could just give it a bunch of tools and it would call it. It's just not in that framework to where it's a good standard. We kind of made our own protocol of like, as long as you give each function the proper doc string and it always accepts these values and this is the type of output and kind of consistent, it would, it could execute all those calls like, how are my, what's the next company event coming up?
Yeah.
So it's pulling from calendars, PTO, timesheets.
Yeah, exactly. How much vacation do I have? What's our gun policy?
VTO goals, yeah. What's our gun policy? All those things. Then also our RAG, so our like knowledge base, it's doing a little RAG on a Google Drive. So it searches if, one of the functions as one of the tools is just general company information policies and so on. And then it pops out to there as just another tool to call.
But I think that's important. And from an HR standpoint, because I've talked to multiple HR people where they're like, we spend an enormous amount of time and money writing our policies to cover every employee's butt and the company's butt and make sure everybody understands it. And some people have it where you sign off on it, which is a good policy, but it's like, here's 1,000 pages of our company policy, and nobody ever talks about it or touches it again. So to have something where
it's when the real stuff comes up, like things you need that aren't, like what's our bereavement policy? When that happens, like that's something that not everybody knows at the top of their head. But we have one; it's buried in there.
But to
now
have
you can
the
literally just ask
TLDR version of it too, saying, "Hey, what is our policy on this?" Oh, yeah, it's this.
Covers this and this many days.
Yeah.
For immediate family, blah, and whatever. Like, so I don't even know it, but I could ask BizBot.
I don't know.
So we got that going. That was pretty solid. Direct messages and all that. But one of the things I wanted to do, and we're still very much experimental, improving, but I wanted to get away from just always prompting. Is it like the human has to start the initiate the kind of action? I wanted it to just be more like a member of BizStream and just like if somebody's posting in the help channel or the dev channel, it can just jump in. If it thinks, it can help with that. So we have a couple, prompts going on that are like step one. It actually reads every single message and kind of like looks for 5 or 15-minute gaps. I can't remember, and kind of considers that all one discussion and threads and figures all that out. But that becomes context. Or if somebody posts a message, again, there's been that gap and nobody replies. The goal is like if nobody replies for like 5 minutes, like if somebody needs help, then ask yourself, do you think you can help with this? And that prompt is you're only supposed to reply with yes or no, or yes, simple answer, or yes, complex, go hit some tools, go do those things, or no, they're just chatter or whatever. Drew's laughing because it was pretty jacked up for a while where it would pretty much reply every time with something, even if it was just, doing a typical LLM where it's like repeating. It's not adding any value to the situation. It's like, oh, you want to know about whatever? Like, that's great. I'm always here to help.
Yeah.
Like, it just really.
It's like a whole nother person on this conversation, which it's got its own personality at this point.
Telling BizBot to shut up and all that stuff. So, but now we're getting to, because unit testing an LLM and unit testing these things are not that easy to like. One, you got our team who knows what's going on. They're a bunch of developers. They're trying to push it to the edge, and trying to get it to say something that it shouldn't or whatever. So you got that going on. But kind of trying to get unit tests going. I'm like, yeah, you should respond to this. You shouldn't respond to that. And that's a lot of loading it up, and obviously that's going to hit some tokens. But every time we roll out now, it runs through some good unit tests. So it's actually better today. Literally rolled it out this week to where it does not reply to absolutely everything. It should only be replying to mostly things that nobody's helping with, and it thinks it can help with.
I think that's an interesting spot to park on, because when people are thinking about AI solutions in their business, and they might have somebody who builds something like that, and it doesn't work out of the gate. And they just give up because they're like, oh, AI was this great promise. They were, full of shit or whatever. Yep. But what you just said was it didn't work right out of the gate, but we went back and we trained it. And it was just like hiring a person. When that person first starts with your business, they don't know everything about your business. They don't know what the expectations are for them.
They might say the wrong thing.
They might say the wrong thing a lot. But then you go back, if you care about them and you want to have them provide value, you go back and you say, no, this is what we expect from you. And I thought that was cool how you shared that, because I think that's important. It's not going to be great out of the gate. It's not magic. It's built on everything that humans have ever written. And it still needs it. So treat it like a human, because that's its alignment is to humans, because that's all it knows. So you got to like train it.
Exactly. And actually, one of the things I've actually noticed with any of our developers, and I did this at first too, any of our developers that have been writing their own AI, mostly not making their own models, but using LLMs to do something like BizBot or BizStream.com, chatbot, whatever.
Yeah.
At first, everyone's worried about hitting tokens and spending too much money and all that stuff. I would say, and I've had to teach everyone this, that like you would be surprised how inexpensive the tokens are in everything. So like one, BizBot runs, it's literally every time somebody makes a message in one of our public channels, which is a lot, it's checking, should I reply to this? Should I reply to this? Yes or no? We're talking pennies a day, like maybe $2 or whatever, really low. And then when it can help, that's helpful. Like it's worth the $2.
You're right.
Like, that's worth $2. But anyway, so the key is context. Give it context. The reason why it's being better is we have said, for example, when somebody's just saying, making an inside joke or whatever, don't reply. When somebody's just posting a meme on whatever, don't reply.
Yep.
Or
It's about 90% of our Slack right
exactly. So 90% of the time, don't reply. Even though this is supposed to be the BizStream channel, we're supposed to say actual helpful things.
Exactly.
But no, like in the help channel, like, and so also letting them know what channel you're in. So add context. So, and I finally learned this because I don't know. This is probably a year ago when Claude released their artifacts or Canvas or who knows what everyone calls their own thing these days.
Yeah,
I think it's artifacts.
it is. Yep.
The system prompt got leaked. It was freaking massive. I could not believe how massive the system prompt was. And that's because they put all the good examples, bad examples.
Yep.
So I started following that kind of template for you saw even in some of my NANs of like, here's examples of good stuff, here's examples of bad stuff.
Yeah.
I want you to check that. I don't want you to check that. This is okay. That's not okay. Give me exactly this type of format. Like just go big on the system prompt like that. That has huge results. Or like when we do the RAG stuff, when we do a RAG search, there's lots of ways to implement RAG. Some people will just choose the top one item that came back, but maybe that is not the best item. So I give it like the top 10, or sometimes with RAG you only give it the chunks that it found, because when you're indexing it or vectorizing it, you chunk out a bunch of stuff. What I was doing that at first, like for our handbook or whatever, or a timesheet policy or whatever. That might be the top result, that little chunk. But then I say, okay, how big is the full file? Like, it's only 15,000 characters or whatever. Like, just give them the whole file as context. Now try to answer the question with all that context, and they can answer really good.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid when you're building these things to give it tons of context. I feel you can always pull back if needed. You can always it's back to the old developer early optimization thing. Like don't be afraid to give it a lot. You can always maybe start playing with choosing a lower, cheaper model. That again, for some of this tech stuff, like actually like my again previous episode, but extracting text from an image.
Yeah.
I don't need the latest model for that.
Right.
I could probably use even Turbo 3.5. Could probably do maybe not send images, but you know what I'm saying. The models just keep getting better, and the old models get cheaper, and also some of the new models get cheaper. So, don't be afraid to add context. makes a huge,
That's a great
huge
point.
difference.
Yeah.
All right. I think we got to wrap this up.
Cool.
Mark, appreciate you coming back on again for the second episode. It's always fun talking with you and learning about all this stuff. And I work 50 feet away from you,
No.
and I never know how much stuff you're actually working on because we just never have that time to talk. But appreciate you talking with you today. Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me BizStream.com, LinkedIn, all over the internets. You'll find me. Mark Schmidt, BizStream.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Mark.
Thanks.
If you like the episode, please leave a comment and like and subscribe. Goodbye, everybody.